Okay, Mr. Larry.
Yes. Yes. That's a Darrylism. Yes.
We want to talk about the playing cards with Grandma.
It's Lair here.
I want to hear about that because back in the day, no television.
No television, no.
This is now on the farm we're talking.
Yeah, and
Porter's Lake.
They had a radio, but I don't ever remember it being on. I can't remember the radio at the farm, but there definitely no television. That wasn't bought until.
Now you were mentioning the other day that your dad wanted to buy them a TV.
He did buy them a television. They would never buy one. He bought the carpet for the living room, right?
Yeah.
And then he bought them a television, and now they could watch the hockey games.
Oh, so
right?
You wanted to have a...
Yeah. And my grandfather would never buy a television. He just wouldn't. Just like, why do I have a computer upstairs, Ted? Because you made me have it. Why does my grandfather have a TV in the room? Because his son bought it for him. So the rabbit ears were up, and it was good enough for CBC. CTV was a little cranky.
Yeah.
CBC, they could watch, and that's where the hockey games were on, right? Then my dad could go out there and they could watch some of the games.
So did your mom and dad take you out to the farm and just leave you there, like for a week or?
No, overnight was usually it.
Just overnight?
Yeah, we'd arrive there in the middle of the afternoon. They would visit, and then they would leave the lost son there.
Yeah.
And then go for a day, and then the next night in the evening they come and get me.
Yeah, because that way they could say if they were doing a bridge, going out to play bridge with some friends and that, they didn't have to worry about it.
I don't remember being dumped there. It was my request. I wanted to be there with my grandma.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was my fault. I liked my grandma, and I wanted to get to know her, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that would happen. But there wasn't a lot of that. But my grandfather was farming his full-time business.
Right.
Right. So I was my grandmother's problem. Well, she had her routine and did her things too, and Billy and Gerald lived there, so she would be keeping an eye out for them also.
So you used to hang out with Grandma?
Yeah. So my mother would complain a lot that my grandparents were unequal opportunities because Bill and Gerald were there, and she was doting on them but not me. So once in a while, my grandmother gave in, and I was allowed to come out and stay overnight. And then Billy and I would play together in the field and do things. But there were very few overnighters. Very few.
Very few?
Yeah. And my grandmother wasn't too much of a talker. And she taught me how to play canasta and rummy. And we would sit in the kitchen, and she would make up the tea. I have fond memories. And we'd sit around the table, and it was kind of in the middle, but we could look out onto the field. And we would look over to the Gay's house, the cottage. After it was dragged up the hill, then you could look out and see it.
So your grandma taught you how to play canasta?
Yeah, because you
How old were you?
Well, you're always asking that, Ted.
Yeah, I know.
So I'll make it
roughly, like.
I'll make it 8 years old.
Were you in your teens, or?
Yeah. Probably.
Or were you preschool?
Yeah, I was probably married, but I won't admit it. Okay.
Like if you were in your teens, she would probably have quite a hard time. But if you're a preschooler, we know they learn quickly.
Yeah, that's true. I was a slow learner, that's for sure.
Before the hormones kick in, you know, the concentration's a lot better.
We'd have the little milk cookies, and we'd have the tea. I would drink tea when my grandmother was there. And I was a tea drinker back in the day.
Yeah?
I'd be 8 or 9 years old.
That would be black tea, right?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Oh, you don't?
No, I have no. King Cole tea. King Cole tea.
King Cole, you can probably hold it back a little further.
You want me to further it back? Ted?
Yeah, there you
Up
go.
to here, can we see it landing from here?
Okay,
Ted?
so King Cole, that's how come you've kept it for a souvenir?
With this? No, I bought that.
So your grandma was teaching you how to be a teetotaler at a preschool age.
Yeah, that's right. I could have milk. We could have the natural milk that they had and whatever. But
because your grandfather had 7 or 8 cows.
Yeah.
And he milked them himself.
Yes.
And so they had a separator on the.
Yes.
Presume. What did that look like?
Well, there was a double stage separator. It was probably, if it sat on the table, it'd be about this high. And it sat in the kitchen, and you separate by hand in there. And I think they used that for years. Now my grandfather eventually.
So it had a handle on the side.
Oh, the handle from hell, Ted. And you could go and swing away at it. And in the beginning, it was quite intriguing. But when you're a kid, that arm gets sore after about 5 quarts. You had nothing.
We had a separator farm, but it had electric motors.
No, none of that.
And it stood on its own on the floor, and it was taller than me.
No.
So I never had to worry about pouring the pails of milk in there.
No, we would sit on the counter. And then you had a little hook on it, and then you put the little bucket, the little stick.
Yeah, something to catch the cream and something
one to catch the
the
cream, one to catch the milk. Yeah.
and one to catch the milk.
Yeah. And we could turn that for a long time, but all the milk was, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't a lot of milk because I soon ran out of horsepower.
So you were pretty excited as a kid to see that until you...
Well, you're allowed to use it after looking at it for so many years. Now you're allowed to turn the handle and separate. Yeah. And then after that, you went, I don't want to separate. Right? That and making the cheese, right?
Oh, making the cheese?
Yeah, making the cheese in the kitchen with the, what do we call it?
Well, hold it. First is butter.
Yeah. So the butter churn.
You had the butter churn. It was a glass jar, about a foot and some tall, with a paddle inside and
No.
like an egg beater thing.
No,
And then
this looked like a wine barrel. It was about this long and about this high. And then
whoa.
And then it sat on
That's serious.
that piece of apparatus. It had a handle on it, and I think it had pedals. You could choose like this,
Yeah.
and you would get that spinning, right? And the floor was a wooden floor, and the floor would move a little bit like this. And you didn't want to be, if that ever hit you, you'd be looking for a new arm or a new thumb or a new face. When that thing ran, my grandfather was poking away on it, right? And he could tell the weight. When the weight got a certain thing, the more the butter was created within it,
Yeah.
the lumpier the ride got. And it would get real shaky, then he'd have to stop. And then my grandfather had the little wooden, what would you call them, like dies. You would sit them inside the wood,
Yeah.
plunk it in like with a spoon, pack it, and then you would press down on the top, and then you would open the side. There would sit the butter. And they had two different designs, one for salted, one for without.
Oh.
Right? And then he had a wooden tray, if I remember right, with ice.
Yeah.
And then you sat the butter and then you closed it off on top. And then you would deliver it. And there were houses, of course, those who took salted, those who didn't. But you watched it being created. And you watched them milk the cows. You watched my grandfather go out and milk the cows. And that was a scary experience. Because about 2 cows in, one cow had a vicious tail like a whip.
Yeah.
And oh, that could hurt. That cow could swat you. So up on the ceiling, not that far up, was a nail with a piece of string. Then my grandfather grabbed the tail, go up, tie it in a knot, hold the tail up there. Then they could milk the cow without getting beaten to death. And the cow was otherwise gentle, but that tail was vicious, just vicious.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather had the brooms that he could collected from the brook, from the bushes they grew in the brook. He made his own brooms, and he had a long stick. And then he would take all the bushes and put it on it and tie the wire around and make it real tight. And then cut all the bush off. And then that was the manure broom. And then there was a big hole in the floor with a lid. And you pulled the lid off and then you dropped the manure down there. And that was 3 times a day, as I recall. But of course the cows were let out in the spring and in the summer. And the cows went in the barn for the manure. And then he'd throw the hay down to keep it fresh and then sweep that off, right? Because there's more than just poop.
Yeah.
There's more than little moons going on, right?
Yeah.
There's also lots of liquid. So we kept it fresh and clean that way. And they used to put lye everywhere.
So this was in that barn
Yeah.
that you...
At the far end of the barn, close to where the garage was.
Yeah.
And also in there was a big millstone, about this big, with a handle on it. And then my grandfather would throw water over it, and then he would turn it by hand and sharpen all his axes. And that baby probably started life out like this, and then with my time it went down to this. And then he was finished, then he was done with it, right? And he could really get that thing humming and he could hone a keen edge on the end of an axe, and they're all double-headed axes. I never saw a single headstone. I came here, city slicker axe they probably call it, right? But they're all double-headed, everyone. And they're nice and light and sharp like mad.
So did your grandma and grandpa have running water in the house?
Yes, but it was with the pump.
Oh, they had the pump?
And the outhouse.
And the outhouse?
You ran your water at the outhouse, okay, Ted? There was a 3-holer, right? So you could have company. That was weird. My brother and I had to sit there together, and it was just a little too strange, right? And you always had, when nobody was looking, you had to look under the lid, see if you could see any snakes in there.
Yeah.
And hornets, of course, right?
Yeah.
And you could see light from the side, and you didn't visit the outhouse too long.
No, the outhouse was not a.
But it didn't stink like high heaven. My grandfather, it always was a reasonable odor.
Yeah, he would put the treatment on the.
Yeah.
Which helps break it down quicker.
And
In the house, yeah, there was a pump where by the sink
yeah, in the kitchen.
in the kitchen.
And the well was just behind the house.
Oh,
You could see it was about 10 feet away. And it was really, really great water.
And so you pumped cold water into. So when you went to drink, did they have the dipping pail?
No,
Because on the farm we had pails of water, but there was no running water. Excuse me, there was no running water in the house. There was. You had to go and pump it at the well. Bring it in, and then you had a pail by the door with a dipper in it. They called it a dipper,
Yeah.
and then you just.
Yeah, that was in the field, when we were working in the field. I remember they came up with
Oh.
a bucket of water for drinking.
Yeah, and then
they would drink right off, we'd all drink off the same ladle, right?
Yeah.
In that context. No, they went into the sink. The funny part was the drain for the sink
Mm-hmm.
was just a long tube, and it just ran outside somewhere. And that was
Yeah.
it. Away from the well, and they ran up, that's it. So
Yeah. Just.
all of that, right?
Yeah.
But it was fresh water, and then my grandmother always had a kettle on the stove.
So.
And the kettle was boiling all the time.
The
And then there was a huge vat at the side, like a well, that sat up against the where the wood was burning,
Yeah.
and it kept that water warm all the time. So it was a kettle boiling, big chrome one, straight out of the storybook. Those big ones with the lovely
Yeah.
designs on them, and a big wooden handle on the top. And that was always on there and almost always boiling. When there was the stove was on, right? If she was cooking bread, kettle was there. Hot water, so it was always hot water, and that you would ladle up. You didn't, just
So was that stove wood stove, coal?
probably a Finlayson, and there's definitely wood because that's free, sort of,
Yeah.
on the farm. And that's
Okay.
what my grandmother. It was a miracle to me how anybody could keep a fire steady and even enough so that you could make
Yeah.
bread. That's tricky.
On the farm, they used coal, but that was only in the winter when it was cold to keep it going over the night.
Yeah. No, we had a wood shed. It was full of wood. My grandfather's, right?
Your
There
grandfather's.
were two wood areas when you walked in the back.
Was there a
of the house.
basement under that farmhouse?
Yeah, there was a half a basement.
Half a
That's
basement.
where the preserves were. We have pictures of that on the slides that you are going to do someday,
Yeah.
showing you the basement. The house was on it sat on the ground, and it was on rocks. There was no formal foundation. So the whole house, you put the rocks down deep enough into the ground that it didn't move when it got frosty.
So
And there was no cement in between the rocks, nothing.
your grandmother kept her preserves down there?
Yeah,
What was your favorite of her
crab
secret-
apples. She loved
Oh,
crab apple pie.
yes,
Crab apple
apples.
pie, yeah.
And she put them in the canning jars, crab
Yeah,
apples?
crab, and then they would be used for making the pie because crab apples were the best, right?
Yeah, they were good.
And then we had a crab apple tree my grandmother did right in the front yard.
Yeah.
And they did that Nova Scotia thing where they took tires, used tires, and they turned them inside out and then they cut them. And they looked just like petals. And then they had little flower pots on 18-inch tires. And they were out around those 3 or 4 of those in the yard.
Okay.
They were petunias and those kind of plants. We're putting them all in the front
And
yard.
you mentioned on a previous storytelling adventure that she had chickens. They had chickens.
Yeah, they had chickens and pigs back in the day, right?
Oh,
Before
and
my
pigs?
time. Yeah, pigs too, yeah.
So
It was a real farm and a working farm.
did you remember the pigs when you were?
No, no, because they were after,
Oh, they were before.
they're post-war.
They had
After
the
the
pigs
war.
and they captured
Before the
them.
war, they had that in there, right? But my grandfather had calves,
Yeah,
and I remember the killing of the calves and when they were young and they would sell the meat.
yeah.
And they had a bull at one time. And we
And
were
they-
scared to death of the bull. And the bull was the first to be let out. And we would stand on the fence way up high, shaking. And that crazy bull would come out just banging off the edge, everything just wild and kicking in the air. You didn't want to be anywhere near it. And then that was led into a field, of course, separate from the milk cows.
Bulls are definitely enough to make you scared.
Yeah, if you want to learn about the farm and you see that bull, boy, that was just unbelievable. Wild and crazy.
Because they're huge to start with.
Yeah, and mad and nuts.
Yeah.
Right? And it would run into the fence too. It would do everything. It's like it was captured all night. Now it's out of prison and went nuts. I've
So-
never seen anything like it. Never.